Hello, everybody, and welcome to At Your Own Pace.
When you're first starting out, it's gonna be hard. That doesn't mean that you don't belong there.
I can do whatever, and it's just me being a ridiculous dad that wants to do some good in the world.
Keep moving forward. It's like a Walt Disney quote. Whatever that means to you at that time, that day, that race, just keep moving forward.
I can do this. I am going to do this, and I will do this.
If you're an early morning, 4 a.m. alarm person to get your run in, or you're like me who likes to sleep in and so you'll run at 7 p.m. Either way, it's hard, and I'm going to cheer for you, get to your goals. And if you don't, I'm going to be the shoulder for you to lean on as well.
It's forced me to get myself uncomfortable. And I think I'm starting to get that comfort with the uncomfortable.
Why don't I deserve a chance to be happy and not beat myself up over a bad run?
In more ways than one, running probably saved my life.
This is where we highlight runners of all backgrounds, paces, and finish times, sharing stories that inspire, connect us, and celebrate our community. Where we stop focusing on the miles splits and we start focusing on the miles lived, because every runner has a story worth telling. You won't hear about PRs, but you'll hear about the mental battles, the moments of profound connection, the personal healing, and the sheer joy that's found on the roads, trails, and tracks. Now, today's guest is someone who brings honesty, heart, and a whole lot of good energy to the running world. She shows up for the kind of realness that makes runners feel seen, whether she's celebrating a breakthrough, talking about tough days, or reminding people to just keep showing up. She brings a community through her consistency, her openness, and her encouragement of runners at every level. So without further ado, please welcome Jess. Hi, Jess.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. You were one of the individuals when I actually started this that I was really hoping would reach out, because your account, what I see you post, is incredibly inspiring to me, and is something that, as someone who only recently started posting running posts myself, I came into social media looking for people who were supportive of runners of every background, regardless of their finish time, their pace, who they were, where they came from, body type, what have you. And you were one of those first people that I kind of latched onto as like, this is the kind of person I want to follow on this account in social media. So you've been a huge inspiration to me in terms of the content that you post. So I just want to, before we get in, I just want to thank you for that.
Thank you. It's so nice to hear that.
Yeah, I mean, I look forward to your posts every day, and I give you a lot of credit because you're a teacher, right?
Yes. I am a preschool and kindergarten teacher. I am more kindergarten now. This is my first year in kindergarten, but my background has always been the little ones. So, and with that brings a lot of patience. Kind of determination as to think of like herding cats. Feral cats. No, I'm just kidding. And I think with running, one of the things that I had to learn is that it takes patience and it takes time. It is a difficult sport to get into, but I definitely am enjoying it more now than I did when I first started, because you could probably relate to this. When you first start, all you think is, how fast can you go? And it's like, once I kind of lost that and just stopped caring and just kind of, just believed it, I was believing in myself more rather than my times, just everything kind of fell into place. And that's when I really started to enjoy my running journey. So
Absolutely.
right
Yeah. The primary reason I brought up that you're a teacher is because I see your early morning runs, and that, like, I think it was this morning I saw you post it. It was like either a 10-mile run or 8-mile run. And then the next picture was you entering your school. And I was like, how does she do this? Because people don't know this, but I started my professional career as a high school history teacher in Brooklyn. And I taught that for 2 years. And my wife is a teacher. She's taught kind of middle school onwards down. She He works now at a special ed school, a private special ed school, and taught kids from like 5 all the way up to 21. And so it's I hear her stories all the time, and
Oh my gosh. I mean, you as a teacher in Brooklyn and your wife as a special ed teacher, you guys are for sure getting into heaven. No, I mean, it takes so much of yourself to like get into these students' lives and make connections with them. And then going from becoming a teacher to fixing and like trying to make a dent into, what can we do to help these students, not just in school, but like overall? I do teach in inner city school, and I started teaching there about 3 years ago. I went from private teaching in a private school and then coming to this city school. I think about this every day, like, where do my kids go home at night?
Mm.
Do they eat? Are they okay? Do they need a hug? Like, I am there for them. And days like I had a challenging day today, but at the end of the day, they're children and they do need the love that they may not be getting at home. So
absolutely.
our work is very challenging, but I'm hoping that I am making a difference in these kids' lives. So
I have no
but
doubt that you are, because I see the parallels between you as a teacher and it kind of permeating into your account that you have with running, and how you share your story, because the content that you make is very real. You can tell from what you posted, it's very authentic, and it comes from a place of, I want to help other people. I just don't want to post something for the sake of likes or for views and things like that. So I kind of wanted to get into that mindset for a second. So when you're creating something or you're about to post something related to running, who are you speaking to in your mind? Is it another version of you? Is it another runner? Is it like the runner when you first started that you're trying to help?
I'd say I'm just posting on like how, like, not only how I'm feeling, like I make a lot of things. I'm like, I know there's other people out there who are like me. I tend to be a little bit, more on the, like, think of myself as a square peg and trying to get in a round hole. And I'm like, I'm not made for that circle. I'm made for the squares, and um I post a lot of quirky stuff, but I'm just right now I'm being my authentic self. And, coming from someone who grew up in the 90s where, diet culture and you had to look a certain way and feel a certain way, like growing up in that time, I'm coming from a place of I've never really been myself until now, and I'm not afraid to be myself. Also, I'm like over 40, so I'm like, I don't give an F anymore what people think. So I know there's people out there like me, and I um I don't consider myself like influencing. I would rather motivate. I like the term a lot better because when I first started, like after I had my kids, I was in a really like bad place mentally, physically, and I just kind of gave up on myself. And then once I started getting back into sports and being active again, and my husband was actually the one to suggest running after I lost my baby weight and I was finally feeling myself again. I was looking for something else, and he suggested, why don't you try running? And that's where that started, like 8 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I try to think of like people at the very beginning, like, okay, how can I like motivate myself to get to this point? All right, I got to this point. How can I go more and more? Like, how do I keep this up? So I kind of like I want to motivate those people and like, patience, like I said before, it takes a lot of patience and time, and it doesn't happen overnight, and results don't happen overnight. But I do want to keep it real because, I mean, I have nothing to hide.
Yeah,
Like, what you see is what
absolutely.
you get.
No, absolutely. Yeah. Now you talked about, I think you said it was 8 years ago or so when you started running. So what shifted in your mindset? What clicked that got you to kind of move in that direction? I know you say your husband recommended it, but obviously you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. What made you like pick up the baton and go that way?
So it's funny that you say baton because I've always had this athletic side. I've been an athlete my whole entire life, starting when I was very young. And one of the sports that I was involved in, a lot of people don't consider it a sport. I was a baton twirler, but it's like, it was very, it's gymnastics, dance. And I did that for over 20 years since like my early mid and I've also been involved with like soccer and softball. But, after I had kids, it's kind of like when after having kids, you think, all right, well, now I got to play this new role. I can no longer be an athlete. So I was like, I had to like change my mind about that because I am an athlete. I've always been an athlete. So I think I had that determination that I grew up with, when we had to do certain routines or tricks over and over and over again, that determination to get it down pat. I think that played a lot into running and the determination. Okay, I ran like 3 miles today. Let's say I do one more mile tomorrow and then add on to that. But when I did start, I just incorporated it like maybe 2 or 3 days a week. And then I had a friend reach out to me because she saw that I was like posting more running content and she said, well, have you ever signed up for like a half marathon or anything? I think you'd be really good at it. And I could send you a training plan and we could be accountable for each other. And I said, yeah, I've never ran a race in my entire life, not even a 5K. I ran when I was in high school, like just in gym, but
Yeah.
I always hated, and even in soccer, I always hated running. But I said, yeah, I'll sign up. And it was probably August and the race was in October. It was the Baltimore. Never ran in my life. Didn't even know what a half marathon was. And I immediately signed up. And then I'm like, maybe I should like Google how far a half marathon is. And my heart sank when I saw how far it was. I was like, how am I going to do this? So my only goal was just to finish. But I remember throughout that training, it's like, okay, I have to fit my run into this. And I also had to figure that out, like my running schedule with my teaching schedule and then my own kids playing sports and their schedules. I had to figure all that out. So in the process of that, I'm like, well, the only real time I have is like 4 a.m. Like nobody wants to wake up that early, but once again, determination, motivation. I've got to wake up this time if I want to achieve this goal. I remember going into that race like feeling like I got this, and I finished and then I believe a week later I signed up for another half. And this was in 2018. So almost 8 years ago. And then it just kind of grew from there. I went from, running half marathons and then in 2021 is when I was like, all right, I'm going to cut the bullshit and I'm going to actually sign up for a marathon. And I remember I trained for like 6 months. And at that point, I had no idea what intervals were or hill repeats, or I didn't know any of the running lingo. And I was just like, my only goal was just to run. And that
Mhm.
was it. That was like a huge learning curve. That first marathon is the most memorable because it's like, that's where you learn like what to do and what not to do. So I learned so many what not to do. I don't
Definitely.
know if you can relate, but I mean, I'm sure you could. So many what
Fully.
not to do.
Fully. And it's funny when we look and see how far we've come. I mean, you jumped in like not even 2 feet. You jumped your whole body
I
in.
was just like head first, like, and I remember after finishing that marathon, Granted, I was wearing shoes that were too small. I was wearing too many layers. No offense to anyone that uses honey stinger, but I was so sick of downing honey stinger gels. But after I crossed that finish line, I felt like I was like on top of the world. And then, not only that, like, we made it a family thing. Like, my kids were there at the finish. My husband was there, like, cheering me on. I was just like, I felt like I was like hallucinating. I was like, "There's my babies," and I was like holding my arms out, and they're like, "The finish is that way."
Oh,
But I remember my husband. He was like, "So you know the Boston Marathon, right?" And I said, "Yeah," and he's like, "Well, you were like 3 minutes away from qualifying for that." And I was like, I had, like, no idea, and then that's when I wanted to run Boston. I was like, "Oh, that's my goal.
mm-hmm.
That's my goal." And then I, told myself, "Well, that can't just be my goal. I wanna do it in a certain period of time." So, I was 38. I was like, "Alright, I wanna run Boston," or I was about to turn 39. I was like, "Alright, I wanna run Boston by the time I'm 40." So I gave myself a timeline, and then, a month later, I signed up for my second marathon, and I followed the same free online training plan. Not a good idea because it's a free plan online, and still, I had no knowledge of I still didn't understand, like, what intervals were, fartleks.
Mm-hmm.
No, I was just like, "I'm just gonna run fast again," or try to run fast, and I remember that was the Delaware Marathon, and it was such a hilly course, and I had not
Oh,
trained for hills. So, I definitely bonked at, like, mile 21. Um, but I finished and I didn't give up, and, it was heartbreaking, but at that moment, I was like, if I'm not having fun trying to chase this goal, and I really need to switch it up and figure out, like, how to train properly because this is not working. If I wanna run, if I wanna try to qualify for Boston, then I need to do this the smart way instead of let's just try to run fast and see what happens. So I actually got a legit training plan. I followed it to a T, and then that November, the Delaware Marathon was in April. That November, I ran the Philly Marathon, which if you haven't run Philly, oh, but
any of?
it's like I loved it. So I ran Philly, and I went into that in like a different headspace. I was more of like, what happens, what happens. I wasn't set on a time. I'm like, I'm just going to try to run as best as I can. And I remember that day it was freezing. It was like 20 to 25-mile-an-hour winds, below freezing, and I had a different kind of watch. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I'm like a fruit watch. Like, that's what I like to call it. And I remember it was dead within mile 1 because of it being so cold. So I had to base my run on how I felt the
My goodness.
entire race. So, and I felt so good. I was, because I knew this time around I did the things I was supposed to, and I ended up with a 20-minute PR and a Boston qualifier. So, and it was like, it was just, I was like, I did it. And, but then I was like, you know what? That race felt so good. I'm going to throw my hat into the Chicago Marathon lottery for 2023. And I got in. I
Nice.
was just like, why not? But, but yeah, I've learned so much. I feel like learn so much from each race. Even
Mm-hmm.
if I have like those really good races, I still learn from, well, I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't do that. But yeah, I feel like the marathon distance is my favorite.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Have you done anything further than a marathon?
Yes. So I have two best running friends that so one of them was signing up for an ultra, and it's called Mid Maryland, and it happens in the beginning of January. And this was after I had ran Chicago in 2023. And she's like, we should all sign up for it. It's going to be so much fun. So we all signed up for it. And it was cold, and the weather did everything that day. It snowed, it was freezing rain, it regular rained, and it was just, I mean, it was miserable, but it was fun. Because at the end of the day, it's like, you know, I did something really hard with my body and I lived. I think once again, I learned a lot from that race because it was my first ultra. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to run trails, I got to get a good pair of trail shoes because I ran in road shoes.
My goodness.
Yeah. And I pretty much kissed the ground at least 20 times. Like I tripped on so many routes. My knees, oh my gosh, my knees were destroyed.
I trip in trail shoes, so I can only imagine what it's like in road shoes.
Oh my gosh, it was terrible, but I had fun doing it. And then once again, a friend of mine got me to sign up for a 24-hour ultra called Pemberton. And that's a 5K every hour for 24 hours. And that was my second ultra. That one was rough, but I managed to get second in the women's group. And yeah, and I did all 24 laps, and I think it was a total of like 75 miles. Yep.
That is incredible. You are the definition of resilience with just jumping in headfirst to master a half marathon and then going into the marathons. And in a year, you qualified for Boston with not only that, but a 20-minute PR from what you had previously. That's just incredible to have that sort of growth happen to you, you know, in that amount of time. The question that I had regarding kind of, we've talked about your marathons and we've talked about your successes you've had. What has been kind of, and I know you talked about the ultras being really tough, but if we look at it both physically and mentally, what do you think would be probably your toughest run that you can think of, and what did you learn from it? What did it show you?
Let's see, my toughest run. It was probably my second marathon because at that time in my head, I was so dead set on trying to qualify. And like I was telling myself all these things. I was just so, I think, worried. Like I was worried about what would happen in the race, and I was not feeling confident. And I remember when I would feel like that for certain races, I didn't feel good about myself. I didn't believe in myself. I talked negatively. Um, and I think when you're in that headspace, it's really hard to get out. If you go into a race believing you're not going to do well, you know, I mean, at least for me, I don't do well. And you have to leave that at the door because at the end of the day, at least for the 99.9% of us who are not elite runners and we don't do this as a job, and we're doing this because we want to, we should at least have fun with it.
Yeah.
So, and you have to want to do it. Like, you don't want to make yourself do it. There's a difference between I have to run or I get to run, you know? And I think that's definitely a piece that people miss is that, you know, you don't have to do it, but it helps if you want to do it, you know? And I think once I stopped talking negatively to myself and, you know, I started pumping my own tires, and I feel like I'm not in that negative headspace anymore because, you know, since I was middle school, I've always had really horrible self-esteem, and I was all self-esteem issues, and I've beaten myself down for so long that, you know, I look at it now like why am I doing this to myself when I should be talking myself up? Look at what my body has done in this amount of time. Um like, why don't I deserve a chance to be happy and not beat myself up over a bad run? But once I got out of that, like, feeling like I didn't do well, I mean, I still have those days like, oh man, that run sucked. But you know what? I know it's going to make me stronger. Like, especially when it comes to speed runs. Oh gosh, like a friend of mine and I we're running a half in a week and a half, and we've been doing speed work. And I'm like, oh my God, it's going to suck so much. And, it's okay to stop and take a breather if you need to. Um, Sometimes in my case, I gotta go to the woods real quick, because me and speed, we don't like, but it's like, I'm in a different mind space now, and it's okay. You don't have to be perfect because, we're just running, and we want it to be fun. Like, I want it to be fun, and it is fun. And once you find people who share the same views and, who enjoy running just as much, then, you connect with those people, and it turns out, hey, they feel the same as I do, and that's one of the things that I love about, like, just running with others. I used to run when I first started running. I would run by myself, and it's a different headspace, because you got to be your own cheerleader. And back then I was not my own cheerleader. I had to rely on music to pump me up. But now that I run with other people, we just talk about our day, or we talk about, what's in our lives right now. But yeah, definitely talking positively to yourself and not beating yourself up for a bad run, because at the end of the day, that run is going to make you better, even though you feel like shit.
No, exactly. There's some quote that I heard about, even your worst run is someone else's best. So, and we tend to forget that, especially for those of us that have run races for years, multiple marathons, half marathons, what have you. We forget kind of the progress we've made from the beginning to now, or even from a month ago to now. And I'm definitely guilty of this. I will have a bad run and be like, my entire training block is just completely ruined now. I'm not gonna hit the goal I want, or I'm not gonna be able to finish the race. And then I have to sit down and tell myself, look at all these other runs that you've done so far, and try to like catch myself and be able to back it up with evidence. But I definitely connect with you on, it's funny, you took the words right out of my mouth when you said we get to. We don't have to, because that is probably, I actually was talking to someone about this earlier, like it is probably the most important thing when it comes to long distance running, because your mind is just going to tell you sometime during your marathon, like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just don't want to. And it's in those moments where you either accept I get to do this, or I have to do this. And if you choose I have to do this, then that's when the negative thoughts start coming, and you really start to question, should I even be here? And then should I drop out? And it's funny because I've noticed in my marathons, I don't want to walk, but my mind will start thinking about like the possibility of doing it. And I know once that happens, it's going to happen at some point. Like my mind has just gone in that direction. And even if I consciously don't want to do it, subconsciously, it knows like I'm going to have to slow down at some point. And I've gotten to a point now where I'm just like, you know what? That's okay.
It's fine.
If I need to walk a little bit, it's okay. I've still had some of the best times that I've ever had when I run my marathons, even when I walk a little bit. And sometimes you have to. I did the Berlin Marathon in September, and it was 80 degrees. I do not do well in the heat. And if I had kept going, and I probably would have had some sort of medical issue, which I saw tons of people who had collapsed, and it was not fun to see that. And I got lucky with Chicago. I see your hoodie there, where it was a decent temperature in the morning, but then by the time I ended, the sun came out, and it was it started to get, I think, in the high 60s, low 70s. Luckily, I was near the end when that happened, but I still walked near the end because I was like, I was like, if I have to drink another damn cup of Gatorade, I'm going to kill somebody. I wanted
Orange
a
Gatorade.
soda. I wanted a soda so bad. And luckily, someone had a little table set up, with mini cans of Coke, and I went up and I
Yeah.
said, my God, you are a lifesaver, because I was about to walk off the course and go to a McDonald's. That's how bad I wanted
Yeah.
one.
Oh my gosh.
And they saved my life with me being able to finish that race. But no, oh my God, the negative self-talk is so real when it comes to running. Oh my
It
goodness.
is.
But what you just shared is such an incredibly important thing for runners to kind of notice and try to shift their mindset away, which is very difficult. You know, as you pointed out,
It
with
is.
people with low self-esteem, it's so comfortable being in the negative at times, because it's all we're used to. And then moving into the positive, you're like, this doesn't feel authentic. This doesn't feel like me. But unfortunately, sometimes opposite action is the only thing that we can do to move in the right direction.
Hmm.
Now, we talked about now, how many marathons have you run?
I've run 9, and then I'm going back to Boston in April, so that'll be 10.
I'll be there too.
Oh yeah.
Hopefully we can meet up. That'd be fantastic. Because I was going to ask if you were still working towards like those PR goals and those qualifying goals. Are you still working towards those, or have you kind of like moved
I'm
away?
gonna try to run those goals as long as I can.
Same.
It's like someday I'm not gonna be able to run this pace.
Mhm.
Sometimes I think I wish I would have gotten into running sooner.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I found running when I did. Yeah. The only like when it comes to a major, like for Boston, I am like I want to have fun, but at the same time, like last year, my goal was to not walk up the hills.
Ugh.
Because my first Boston, I did train for hills, but I remember it was such a warm day and I survived on popsicles and orange slices throughout the course. And I had to walk up the hills because my legs are just like, nope. And so that's fine. My only goal was to have fun. And then last year I was like, okay, my goal is to not walk up the hills, but to still have fun. And I did, and this year I want to try to run a 3:20.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. But I mean, my overall goal is I do want to have fun because I draw a lot of that positivity and just energy from the crowd. Like when your legs feel dead and your head's like, oh my gosh, I still have like 6 more miles to go. You just draw that energy from the crowd. I try to like, instead of like having blinders on and just go forward, I like to look around and I see the crowd and, I'm in with that, especially like in Boston, like going through the Scream Tunnel.
Mm.
um like I like draw my energy from them and I'm blowing kisses and giving the high fives. I'll go out of my way and give a little kid a high five that's just standing. Have you ever done
Mhm.
that? Like
Oh
they're
yeah.
just standing there like my mom's making me be here and watching, just got to give them something. So,
Yeah. Then it's funny because
but
my focus during my marathons is like I'm locked in, but I will high five any kid that has their hand out,
yeah,
because I had spoken to someone who I follow here months ago after Boston, and he talked about how when he was a kid, that was like their thing they would do every year, because he lived on like right off the course, and he was like, we would come down and we would just stand there. I would just stand outside and get and try to get high fives from people. And he was like, when I got the chance to run Boston, I made sure that I was the person who was giving those kids that high five, because I wanted that when I was a kid. So
hmm,
that really hit me hard. And so like every race that I do, I'm always high fiving the kids. So little
always
kids
high five.
or teenagers, whatever, it doesn't matter, because who knows, maybe that high five could inspire them to lace up
That's
their own
right.
shoes. You never
Yep.
know. And so we talked about, the difficulties that have come up, the negative self-talk, and the most difficult run that you faced. That what was kind of the breakthrough, like the moment where you it doesn't necessarily have to be when you finish the race, but maybe during a race where something clicked and you were like, okay, I'm capable of this. I can do this. It like surprised you.
I think it would have to be like because there's that weird like time where you're just trying to settle into your pace, and you're like, I have those runs where I'm like, it's like, will I ever settle into this pace, or do I have to pull back? I think it was after I actually was like, okay, I got to cut the bullshit and I got to train the right way. So it was after those first 2 marathons that, on race day, when I had that confidence, I think it was like after my watch died after mile 1, I did have a mini freak out. And then I'm like, but I'm feeling really good. And I don't really need, like, if I'm feeling like this and I keep this pace, like, I could do this. Like, I don't need to keep looking at my watch, even though it's like, I would look at it, I'm like, oh yeah, it's dead. And then that's when I was just like, I was just in a different headspace then. And I was like, after I finished, and I didn't even know my correct time. I just saw the time up on the mile marker or on the finish after I crossed. And, that's when I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. Like, and it just, everything from start to finish was like, just, it felt so good. Or after the watch incident, everything was just like, I was calm. I was like enjoying myself. And then like, I surprised myself. Um, but I think it's just, it's all about how you feel. Like if you don't, like I said before, if you don't feel confident, I don't think you're going to perform well. But if you have if you start like feeling like you're going to believe it, like you need to believe in yourself, you're going to surprise yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you're kind of, I feel like you're alluding to my next question because of everything you're saying about the trusting yourself and believing in yourself and the positive self-talk. If you could go back to day one, Jess, I'm not sure if we want to go back to when you decided to sign up for the half marathon or if it was even when you were running in gym when you were in school. This person's thinking about getting into running. They don't know anything about it, as I'm the same way as you. I didn't know what, I still think that the word fartlek is hysterical.
My gosh.
And I didn't know what interval runs were. I didn't know speed workouts. I didn't know hill repeats. If you go back to that person who's day one, I think I want to get into running, what is one piece of advice that you would give that person?
Besides a good pair of running shoes, let me see, just like have confidence in yourself and have faith. Don't feel overwhelmed by what you're seeing like on social media. Don't compare yourself to others because, like you said, your pace or your goal pace is somebody's is like, I forgot the saying, but you should not compare yourself to others. Like there are still like, with like, what was the CIM that just happened recently? And my friend and I were talking about that today on our run, and we were talking about those was it 55 women that ran under a 2:30 or 2:37. Such like an incredible feat. And I'm like, I wish I could run like that, but there I go comparing myself to elitists, Um, but yeah, I wish I could run. I could never run, but I caught myself comparing to other runners. And I would tell that starter Jess, I'm like, here, go get yourself a nice pair of running shoes, because what you got on your feet right now are just cross training shoes and they suck. To not compare yourself to other runners, because everybody is going to have a different pace and everybody is going to run differently. There are some people that run with running vests because we like to drink water.
Exactly.
There are some, there are some people who need all the gear. There are some people who don't. And everyone is just different. So you do you. Like I remember when I started running, I didn't run with water. I didn't run with salt tabs. I just had my phone in my pocket And now I'm like, I need my hydration vest so I can drink my water because I'm not embarrassed to wear one.
Mm-hmm.
I also keep my emergency shit kit in there just in case I gotta go in the woods. But like when I first started running, I was like, that stuff is like lame. That's for people who don't run fast. And, like I was comparing, but now I'm just like, give me that vest, like, give me my water, give
Yep.
me my supplies I need, but it just goes to show that, everybody runs differently
Yeah.
and just you do you, right? So,
Exactly. It's
yeah.
funny you talk about getting a good pair of shoes, because my first 2 pairs of running shoes were just a random pair of Asics shoes that I saw at Kohl's that I just
Oh my
thought
gosh.
looked cool. That
Same.
that was I liked because they had the little, it's almost like the little foot pods that they have in the Nike Alpha Fly, but they were like in the
Yes.
back. I was like, these shoes look cool. I think I would do okay in them. I had no idea anything about like stack height or what have you. And
Heel, like, was it the toe drop or heel drop,
like,
whatever?
exactly. I was like, I don't know. It just works, I guess. But the funny thing was, when I started running, I was wearing an 8.5 shoe. I now wear a 10.5. So I was running for about 2 years, a year and a half, with the wrong size shoe. And I would lose toenails and be like, why is this happening? I guess this is just like a thing that runners deal with. And it was only when I got my feet fully measured that I was like, oh, this explains why this is happening. And it's funny you mentioned like going out for a run and not having like your gels and your water and your electrolyte shoes and everything. Because I used to, I lived in New York City when I first started running, and I was lucky enough where about several times a week I was able to drop my stuff off at a gym and run around Central Park. And it was great. I loved it, but I never brought anything with me. I had like a little belt that I would put my phone in. I was unaware of what chafing was. Um,
Oh
and
no.
so I would finish my runs and be like, why do my nipples hurt? Like,
Oh my
I
gosh.
don't understand what's happening. It's really, so I like literally sometimes would finish the run like this, and
Oh,
I didn't know what it was. I was like, maybe it's just like, I don't know, some uncomfortable thing. Maybe it has to do with like the shirt's not tight enough or what have you. And I remember I ran a 12-mile race in Central Park. It was 2 times around, and my best friend was there, and he waited for me, and he saw me cross the finish line. And I was really proud of my finish time. I was like, oh my God, if I had actually run another mile, I would have finished a half marathon in under 2 hours, which has been like my dream. And he just comes up to me and points downwards, and I had bled
oh no.
completely through my shirt, and I didn't know until I looked down. I was like, everyone has seen this, and I did not know. Uh,
Ugh.
so yeah, you learn so much from when you begin your running journey, and it's a lot of it's guess and test, and
Yes.
finding out sometimes the hard way. But I I appreciate you pointing out the need to remove the comparison, because I don't have to tell you. You go online, I do it myself. Runners who are just like 6-minute miles, 5.5-minute miles, judging other runners who are slower, uh,
Hmm.
and saying that they're not real runners, which makes me furious.
Yeah.
Um, and in the running community as a whole, what we should be doing is lifting each other up and supporting one another.
Exactly.
which is why
Exactly.
I'm happy to have you on the show and being able to share your story, because you epitomize that. Like, that is like what you come onto your account to do, is to celebrate everybody regardless of finish time, pace, body type, things like that, because we're all heading in the same direction. We're all heading forward, putting one foot in front of the other. And when you cross the finish line of whatever race you're in, you cross the same finish line as the winner, and you get the same medal, if there is one, of the winner as well.
That's
So
right.
there is no reason to judge other people. That suggestion to give to, I don't want to say baby Jess, but beginner Jess
Yeah.
is an incredible suggestion to have.
Hmm.
Trying to think, there was another question that I had. Now, this is kind of out of left field. I wasn't going to ask this question, but I feel like I want to ask you this. Because I feel like we just bonded over our hatred of honey stinger gels. But what is your most unpopular running opinion?
My popular running opinion.
Or is there
Like when
like
it comes to,
or
go ahead.
anything? It could be also like something that has to do with running. Like it's a running hill that you will die on. Like I believe this to my core.
If you're having GI issues, like go somewhere and relieve yourself. Like honestly, like okay, I know it's gross, but I will tell you that I may tell younger runner Jess, because I remember finishing a run and just feeling awful because I just ran while holding everything in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you know what? I will die on a hill and say it's okay to go in the woods. It's okay, as long as
Mm-hmm.
just go off the
Yeah.
beaten path,
Yeah.
okay? Go where nowhere takes a walk. So,
Definitely.
I mean, I would finish a run and I would just try to hold it together and I would just have to like rush home and then everybody get out of the way and it's not worth it. So,
Mm-hmm.
um but yeah, since I started doing that, I'm happier.
I
So,
bet.
you know what? It's and I tell my husband, I'm like, well, today I went in the woods and he's like, you couldn't even make it home. I was like, honey, everything I run at 4 and I meet up at the trail with my friend like early, so nothing's open
Yeah.
except, but I mean,
And there's
he
nobody
still
out at
loves
4,
me.
so it's
Yeah,
not like
nobody's out at 4.
yeah, you don't have to worry about anybody
Nobody's
walking
gonna
past
see
you.
me. But yeah, that's I mean, real life problems right here,
I
so
mean, as a long distance running, listen,
it takes a toll. Yeah.
there's a podcast I listen to called On the Runs, and
Oh, yeah, I love
you know,
them.
yeah,
Eric and
they're incredible.
Erica, they're
Mhm.
great.
They are
They're
so
amazing.
wonderful. I got to meet Eric when I ran the New York City Marathon. He was
You did?
yeah,
Oh,
we did a Peloton shakeout run, and he ended up being in my group, and it was really funny because he came up to me, he goes, "Yo, Mike, what's up?" And I was just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And he was like, "You don't remember who I am, do you?" And I was like, "I am so sorry, but I do not." And it was great to see him.
uh,
Uh,
um, yeah, I've talked with them quite a bit, and we actually like Eric and Erica. We had dinner together like a few nights before the Boston Marathon,
nice.
and he's so funny. We met up at the Guinness Brewery, and he has his podcasting equipment. I was like, "Is this gonna work?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it'll be fine. We'll just go around the table." But yeah, they're great. I love
Yeah,
them. I can't
absolutely.
wait to see them again in April.
Yes, I missed them this year. I think I was just like new. Like I literally just started posting content earlier this year in like
Hmm.
January. So I was still like very new to like who are people that I want to like surround myself with in the running community. And I didn't know until after I got back home and I saw them post about it. I was like, oh crap, I can't believe I missed that. So next time in April, I'll definitely be there and I'll make sure that I show up. Before we get into our last segment, I want to take a quick moment to thank today's sponsor, For the Run. For the Run is a running apparel company creating high quality shirts, hoodies, and everyday gear designed for runners who care about why they run just as much as they care about how fast or how far they can go. Their clothing is comfortable, durable, and made to be worn on runs, to races, and in everyday life, all while carrying messages that celebrate mental health, community, and personal growth through running. I've personally worn multiple singlets of theirs for my World Marathon majors that I ran in 2025 and will continue to wear them in 2026. They are phenomenal, and I cannot recommend them enough. If you're someone who believes running is about more than performance and likes wearing gear that reflects that mindset, For the Run is absolutely worth checking out. You can find them at forthe.run. And if you use the code FTR MikeRunsMarathons, you can save 10% off your purchase. All right, now back to Jess. So now this next section is what I call the hot seat. So this is
Okay.
where I ask you just a couple quick questions off top of your head. Give me your answer without even thinking about it. The first one is going to be trail or road.
Okay, road.
Okay. The favorite running shoe brand at the moment.
Hoka Clifton 10s.
Nice.
That's my go-tos.
Your go-to. Your sweet or savory post-run meal.
Let's see, sweet or savory. I'm savory.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
would it be?
Actually, I like a good brunch.
Mm.
So like a good omelet.
Okay.
It sounds really good right now, actually.
That's always a good post-race
Yeah.
meal to have. And then what's one piece of running gear that you can't live without? And you can't say shoes.
My vest. My running vest now. Yeah. It's kind of like my mini purse.
Now, these two last closing questions I have are something that I ask everybody because I gather this information. I'm going to share it with other people to help them with their own running journeys. The first is if you could pick one quote, a mantra, or a line that can help get you through tough miles, what would it be?
I like this mantra. It's I can, I am, I will.
Mm,
So I can do this, I am going to do this, and I will do this. That's something that I always like, especially if it's maybe like the last like 2 miles to go and
mhm.
I'm just like trucking along and I'm just repeating that in my head. I can, I am, I will. I can, I am, I will. Or just keep moving forward and it doesn't matter how you're moving forward.
Mm,
You could crawl, you could walk, you could run, you could jog.
keep going.
So just keep moving forward.
And then last but not least, so it's April, you're running Boston, you've turned left on the Boylston, you see the finish line. What song is playing in your headphones as you cross the finish line?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. What have I been listening to lately? Oh man, now I'm like trying to it's probably gonna be Eminem or something.
Nice.
Rap God.
Mm,
Either Eminem or let's see. Or Lizzo.
yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, you got to have an intense song playing when you cross the finish line.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, so
Nice.
or there's okay, I got one more. So or there's this other one by Pink. It's called Trust Fall. I like that one
Okay,
too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Awesome.
So that's it.
That's good to know because I'm creating a playlist so that I can put all these in.
Okay,
So if
okay.
anybody wants to find one of the songs to run across the finish line too, they can do that.
Well, Trust Fall is probably a good upbeat one
Mhm.
if you're not like if you're not, you know,
I'm the kind of
wanting
guy
to
who
cross with
listen.
Eminem.
I listen to the most like bombastic, loud, crazy music when I run in order to like get me so pumped up and get my cadence moving. So
Yeah.
I'm afraid to show people what I listen to because it's just like it's really intense.
Well, I need to add stuff to my playlist, so I've been adding it for the past 3 years. So,
Yeah, I have different
but,
playlists depending on like my speed that I want. Because it also determines how long the playlist is. But those are actually all of my questions. Jess, it was a privilege to have you on the
thank
show
you.
today. You know, I
It
really
was
want to
so
thank you.
nice to like finally talk with you and meet you.
I know.
So,
Like I said at the beginning, you know, I value the honesty and the energy that you bring to the running community. And being able to follow you and see your own journey is inspiring to me, especially with what you shared here today from where you started of just jumping in head first to run that first half marathon to, you know, making a 20-minute PR in order to qualify for Boston. It's just an incredible story and it's something that I think could show other individuals who are looking to get into running but don't know how to just either take that first step or legitimately just leap into it, and to remind people, as you pointed out, that it sucks at the beginning. Literally every single person that I've had on this show so far has said the same thing, which is really funny because we all love running, but we all collectively agree that it sucks at the beginning, which is just really funny. But I appreciate you sharing, you know, your inspiration and the work that you do with your students, definitely with the amount of support that you provide them and the listening to them and being able to kind of have that emotional intelligence. I see it translating over into your running content, and I appreciate it. And I'm really grateful that you took the time today to speak with me about it.
Oh, thank you so much.
Of course. So again, I want to thank Jess for everything today. Her story is one of resilience, of jumping headfirst into a half marathon with no legit plan on how to get across that finish line without even knowing how long a half marathon was. And I urge you to follow her on Instagram and Threads if you want. Her username is runner_Jess, and that's Jess with 4 S's. But I want to thank you for tuning in to At Your Own Pace. A reminder that whether you're walking, jogging, racing, or just dreaming about getting started with running, remember that you belong here at every pace. And until next time, I want you to keep running your story 1 mile at a time, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Can we do it?